represent all these organizations, their unions, and praise the Lord, we are here in 2022. Very interesting. Let me begin with this. The last time I had someone here, we're talking about the promised money. And he assured me, now teachers, we are going to be getting this money. On a lighter note, let me begin with this. The president made this promise to you, a pledge to you. We had the money at some point. We had then there's this organization. Now, on the 10th, we are opening schools. This was supposed to act like a bailout in the times of COVID, the hard times we are going through the lockdowns. Bushobozi, have you failed to get grip of your monies?
Thank you so much. Happy New Year, viewers outside there, and all the teachers who are going to teach in the private schools. Yes, as you are aware, for 2 years now, we've been struggling and laboring to have the beneficiaries get their money. Processes have moved. We have touched left, we have touched right, to see to it that the teacher in the private school gets his or her money as promised by the president of this country. I can only say today on camera that so far where we have reached today as I speak, we have decided to reinvent the wheel. Finance is very ready to give us that money because the money is there. The only hassle which is remaining is the channel through which this money is to come out. And that is why you see I have come with the GS this morning. After here we're going for a meeting. We want to see to it that we finalize the channel. Where is this money going to be put? That is where the question remains. Because originally there was a kind of misdirection that there was one association which was to manage this money. And over time, I don't want to open the Pandora box, we realized that it couldn't work out. And then we have now kind of agreed that we identify a one channel which is acceptable to all, where there will be a basket, and this basket is for us, the teacher, that is our basket. So whoever goes into that basket will be able to access that money as per the conditions set for that money to be. Because remember, the money is not free money, and that is why we have taken all this long. This money is meant to be a revolving fund. Because initially at the day one when we started, we had thought that it would be like a reliever, a bailout.
It sounded like the actual purpose. I remember when His Excellency was speaking.
Yes, that was at the time. But when we did the calculations, if you go to the 20 billion and you divided it with the number of teachers, which was estimated at that time about 40,000 people, you realize that each one would get about 57,000 shillings. Now, 57,000 shillings, you can only last with it maybe a few hours, and that would be it. So we realized that it is better, because for us we're in the private. We don't have the cushion. The only cushion we have is NSSF. Now, we want to have this fund to grow. It becomes a revolving fund. You take, utilize it, bring it back. Another one takes it, utilizes it, brings it back. As the fund grows, and maybe in future, we shall have a national private school teachers bank, so that we can have a better future for our teacher as we are growing in terms of profession.
That sounds very well as explained, Hope. But the biggest question now I'll ask the Secretary General of this coalition. What has taken teachers? I grew up knowing teachers are organized people, not saying you're not. But you know, we believe that anything, even our village, Abaito Musomesa, you have solutions. You have the exposure, you're very organized, but we've seen border people form circles, get money. We've seen the artists, performing arts get money. We've seen a number of groups get money. Now this noble profession, one of the oldest, because even Jesus Christ was a teacher, to one point fails to get to this level. Why up to now that this money is still an issue 2 years down the road?
Thank you very much. Seriously speaking, it's not that teachers are disorganized like it's sport.
At one time I heard it's that because of the disorganization.
Yeah, this kind of disorganization is artificial, I can say. It was created. Like the chairperson put it, we had at one time when one group was fronted to manage this fund, whereby, and these other bodies, by the way, we have about 3 unions and 5 associations so far in the coalition, came together to do this noble job. Now, in this process, we agreed that we get a fund manager. At the beginning, when we were still in talks with the ministry, and the fund manager, by that time, had proposed was Walim Sako. But when due diligence and those other processes were taken, we did not get the feedback, but maybe from the back doors, it's like it did not qualify. So we decided now to form an Apex Sako. Teachers in private schools there have circles. Those circles are there. But those circles are independent of the other. So this time what we agreed on was to have an Apex Sako. All circles in this country, for as long as they are registered and they belong to the teachers in the private sector, come together, have the AGM, agree to have the Apex Sako. And the processes of the formation of the Apex Sako are at their final stages as I talk right now. Like they put it, we are calling upon those other teachers who are having SACCOs, nationally registered, not national, but registered SACCOs, but having members as private school teachers across the country, whether it's northern, eastern, central, western, and those other areas. Please bring your SACCOs. We are in the process of finalizing the Apex Sako, and the Ministry of Finance is going to put this money to this Apex Sako so that teachers access this money through the Apex Sako to these other SACCOs, and it's the purpose of this. Possibly maybe by the end of the show we shall give you the contact through which maybe we can.
Then that brings us to a big question. How soon is soon?
How soon is soon? How soon is soon? It's like when we get organized. Even if we get organized tomorrow, that money is there. Okay. So the issue is we need that Apex Sako. When should we have that Apex Sako? It's now the matter of time. The teachers outside there. So far we have over 30 SACCOs across the country that are coming together to the Apex Sako, and we have a group, a WhatsApp group, and where those people are communicating. So we are calling upon all those, because we don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to get every teacher in this country on board so that he or she becomes a beneficiary of this fund. How soon? In fact, we wanted, before reopening, teachers to have this money, because look what this teacher has not been working for the last 2 years. This time is called to come to teach, is having maybe the siblings, maybe the children and those other people who are also going to school. So for us, we thought that if these people can access this money before the reopening, or maybe soon after reopening, then they take their children also. Now they begin a new life, because COVID brought us to another level. That's what
I hope this was a blessing in disguise, because when you talk about a revolving fund most of the time is not a bailout. It's something to invest so that you can make profits and also take back. That has been the challenge of many of these initiatives by government. A person knows there is money, goes, makes a wedding, takes back children to school. At the end of the day, there is no profit made out of that money. And so the circle fails, and then you begin chasing up people. But away from this, let's look at now the reopening of schools. Teachers in private institutions have not been getting salary, contrary to their colleagues in government schools, where government kept paying them throughout. How prepared is this teacher now to go back to the classroom, Chairman, because you well know that it's not only a teacher psychologically must also be prepared. We are talking about reopening, but how prepared are these teachers in private schools more so?
Thank you, Mr. Chirabu. Recently, we had a dialogue in the Prime Minister's office, which culminated into a meeting with the Finance Ministry organized by the Office of the Prime Minister, chaired by the Minister of General Duties, the former Secretary General of the NRM. And we had a very good discussion, including the Uganda Bankers Association, the UNDP, and the school proprietors, plus us, the teachers of the private school institutions. There are mechanisms which are underway on how these schools can be helped to open with ease. But still the challenge remains, these are private schools. As you hear the word private, private is private. Ideally, they are saying it is your business. So if it is your business, you go for it, you as an individual. But simply because, as you are aware, you know, I'm a champion of human rights in this country, especially for the teachers' rights. It is the duty of government to provide education to all of us or to its citizens. Now, because there was that gap, which government wouldn't fill in wholly, hence opening up, and then the emergence of liberalizing education, and we started having private education. Now that we have private education, and it is the duty of government to provide that service to its citizens, so we called upon government to see to it that that gap is well managed, such that it doesn't become no one's business, everybody for him or herself and God for us all, but there should be a semblance of order, because there is a very big gap. I presented a paper, and I can share this with the viewers. For example, how many teachers do we have ready to resume teaching in these private schools? How many are willing to continue working under the same conditions as they were before the closure of these schools? Is it going to be business as usual? How about the mode of delivery of content to the learner? Because you see, there is a lot of discrepancies. Others have been in school online. Others have been out of school completely and also. True, there are other teachers who have been teaching online, and others even physically, having a one-on-one home visits. But there are those who have not been teaching at all, at all, at all.
And some have already gone into something other forms.
Forget about those who have quit completely. But I'm looking at those ones who are going to come back on the 10th. How ready are they? Now, these schools, because I have told you these are private what? Schools. They get their money from the parents. All of us were hit hard by COVID. And if you check, so many schools still keep the school fees high. You are talking of $1 million plus. Yes, there are the other smaller schools, I'm using the word small in quotes, who are charging lesser monies. But the question is, do these schools have the capacity to open? Now, what is going to happen come 10th? Schools are going to open. And it is going to give us a very big challenge. There is going to be stumbling and tumbling. And we are likely to take another 2-3 months before we settle down. But I have hope, because the best way to start is by starting.
Yes.
So if we start, all these challenges will be addressed. Because now, nobody can predict the future. Yes, there are those people who say they predict the future, but there is never a guarantee to that. For instance, now we are struggling with Omicron. We don't know what will be the effect of the same when it comes to the 10th. How are we going to manage that? So there are still so many challenges, but I still believe if we open and schools resume, then we shall be addressing these challenges as they come along.
Secretary General, let's look at the issue of vaccination. For government schools, it is very clear. This can easily be enforceable. For private schools, you know, many schools look at profits. And of course, we know we have certain teachers that some schools will tell you, we can't afford to lose this teacher. How have you as a coalition ensured that your members embrace vaccination to the latter for safe reopening of schools? And how are you going to ensure you enforce this? Because I was with the spokesperson of the ministry and said, we are entirely looking at the head teacher, you know, to ensure that the staff he has are fully compliant to full vaccination. 10th is not far. What measures have you taken? Because at the end of the day, if infections go high, we may go back into something that could still affect that very sector, maybe.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to assure you that most of the teachers, especially those who are willing to come back on 10th, have adhered to the vaccination process, and I want to thank them for that. Secondly, we've been using platforms like this one, telling people that vaccination is safe and very okay. Fellow teachers, go and get vaccinated if you are not yet vaccinated. I think, like the two of us, we are already vaccinated, the 2 doses, and we are healthy. We are still alive, even very many others. So vaccination is okay, and we are encouraging people to go and get vaccinated. Secondly, when reopening starts, we are planning to have a visit to schools to see the status of vaccination as a coalition. Because apart from the funds and the rest, it's also our duty to see to it that the teachers' welfare is moving on well. Thirdly, I would like to call upon the school administrators, the head teachers, the directors, and everyone that this COVID brought a new situation. We are in the new normal. The teachers we had previously are actually different from the teachers we are having today. Why? A teacher who was very good then, today might come back when he's the worst. A teacher who was very bad, because of what he has gone through, might come back when he's the best teacher. Therefore, I urge these people that as you are looking at these people, look at them as new people. Look at everybody. Don't look at this person maybe by his history or her history and the rest. No, this time people have come when they are very new. Therefore, as we come to teach, even the learners we are going to teach, they are different. Some of them have been learning, some of them have not been learning. Some of them maybe, like the government put it, we have so many teenage pregnancies. Very many girls got pregnant and they are coming back to study. So the situation is different. The mode of teaching must change. The mode of handling the staff must change. The terms of and conditions must change in the private sector. The timing, everything must change so that we fit in the new normal. Thirdly, I would like to encourage each and every one in the education sector that since we have been reopened, come 10th, please let us do our best to control this variant, the Omicron, so that it does not spread further, so that we limit its spread and we continue with the education system. Yes, please.
Godfrey, one of the other issues that are really more so in the private sector is these remedial classes. We are having a new method of teaching where some subjects, some topics have been put aside, and we are getting the cream to ensure that within this spell of time, we can cover so much. Because you're having people that have gotten, maybe if I call it automatic promotion, but you still have to pick some of the content that they could have missed. Now, for government, I've had a number of workshops going on, ensuring they give them an insight, a number of conferences. At least head teachers in public schools have gotten this. Private schools, how prepared are your teachers, are your members, to ensure that now we not have again imbalances in terms of content coverage, in terms of finally performance when you have these national exams that they sit?
Thank you so much for that very good question. Yes, there are arrangements which are in place, which the government has put in place, of orienting and reorienting these teachers prior to the official opening on the 10th. All private schools were invited, and circulars went out, and these private school teachers have been involved in these trainings. But as I told you earlier on in my presentation, that private is private because the dynamics therein varies. This teacher in the public school has been earning a salary, and the one in the private has not been earning a salary. Now, who facilitates this person to go and attend this workshop? So you realize that it is a self-initiative for one to go in these trainings. Because as I have told you, the mode has totally changed. You see, you can no longer now kind of threaten this teacher with what they call, okay, let me use a crude word, like a punishment, that if you do not attend, then you will not. Because the man has been, or the woman has been, for 2 years on serif. Now, what threat will you give this person? It doesn't work out. So it is all about professionalism. A professional teacher will come out and will be eager to learn. Because teachers are very adaptable people. They adapt very easily. And that's why I have said, because the challenges are too many, I can't discuss all these details on a national TV within a space period of 1 hour. The best way is for us to start. But as an association and as a coalition, we are looking for funding. And indeed, if there is anybody outside there who can help us, we want to reach out to the teachers in the private schools to do the psychosocial support to the teacher, because the emphasis is mainly on the child. Now, there is a big challenge coming ahead there, because we are in a society which has been hit hard by the COVID-19, coupled with other challenges of life. Take, for instance, we have teenage pregnancies which occurred, and these students gave birth. Now, they are going to come back to school as learners, but these are mothers. They are leaving children somewhere else, and they are coming to class to study. Now, you have got these teachers who are coming back. We don't know what kind of teachers are going to come back, because we are not sure. Not until schools have opened, that's when now we can be sure that teachers have come back. But as you said, these are private schools. What do you do? Because you are balancing the intricacies of the service and the business, and you have got to fill the gap. What if the teacher which is expected of you to be having has not appeared, and you want to fill the gap?
You go for any.
You go for any. And now, that is where the challenge lies. And that's why I'm saying, not until we have opened up and we have started and we have interfaced with these challenges and we find a way on how to deal with them, as for now, we can only be speculative. But it is not all doom and gloom. There is hope at the end of the day. So we are still hoping that we shall open and schools will go on, but things will not be as they were. Automatically, there are challenges, and we believe these challenges have got to be addressed.
Well, hearing it from the teachers, and I have the chairperson, the Secretary General of the coalition that brings together teachers in private schools, their associations and their unions, and we are discussing the post-COVID era, looking at the education sector, more so now the private players in the education sector. Allow me go for a short break, and when I return, I and my guests will continue discussing more regarding the plight of teachers, the students, but also we also factor in those that are running this noble cause in the private sector. Today we've seen so many calling for fees, tuition and all that, but all that when we return.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles. Valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
It's the festive season and we love it. And that means it's time to celebrate with GoTV.
Come with me.
So get your GoCoder and GoTV value for 25,000 shillings to watch with the whole family. And if you're feeling extra festive, upgrade to our best package yet, GoTV Super.
Something to look forward to.
Download the My GoTV app for more information.
Super.
We all deserve a super festive season. And with GoTV, there's every reason to love it.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Thirty minutes to the top of the hour. Thank you for keeping it with us here on Good Morning Uganda Extra. We are still looking at, that is the post-COVID era in terms of reopening of the education sector, because COVID is still with us. But of course now we are looking at reopening and more so the education sector. So that is what we are discussing after the lockdown has been lifted, beginning on the 10th. Now when we know all institutions of learning are going to be fully reopened. And with me in studios, in case you've just joined, I have, that is members of the Coalition of Private School Teachers Associations and Unions. This is an umbrella body that brings together all associations and unions of private school teachers in Uganda. And I have Kangave Mudi, who happens to be the General Secretary of the Coalition, and also Bushobozi Godfrey, who is the Chairperson of the Coalition. Well, before we went for the break, we were looking at how prepared we are to ensure that education resumes more so in private sectors. Now, this brings me to Kangave.
Yes, please.
Yes, we know there are teachers that may never return to this noble profession.
Very true.
But we also know that private institutions have always had a challenge, that there is no uniformity. In terms of employment, there is no uniformity. There are style disparities, and these affect the student in one way or the other. We know you're in the same school, one gets $1 million as salary, teaching the same, then you have the super teacher There's this sporting moving from this school to the other school. So there happened to be a bit of disorganization in private schools at one level. But that withstanding, we want to look at the plight of parents. Today, in the dailies, I saw a story where parents are saying, please, help us. These fares. For government schools, maybe government can have an input for public schools. But for private, it's more of business. How best do you think this issue can be addressed? So that we do have schools opened, and don't have schools opened, but some students failing to study because they cannot afford these tuition fees.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Chirabo. Yeah, this is a vital question, and it's very crucial. One, this COVID-19 hit each and every sector, much as the education sector was most hit. In this, I would like to tell the parents, because we are also parents, that one, we need to go and talk to the schools, the school administration especially, because I know they understand the situation, so that maybe you work out the modalities of paying the tuition and the fees. That's one. Two, when you look at the learners we are going to receive, they are having so many gaps. So many gaps. Some of them are having the regressed content. They learned this content, but they've forgotten. We have others who are having the missed content. They learned, but they did not learn what they are going. Because by the closure, you find a child was in P3. This time, this parent wants this child in P6 or P5. And we don't have a clear yardstick, because we don't know whether this child forgot or did not learn, or maybe the content was lost.
And that brings you to this automatic promotion.
Yes.
They have been away from school for 2 years. Is it a move from one class to the other? Is it a move from 2 classes? Because there's also that dilemma. CDS, if you've been in, say, P3,
yes,
automatically we think you're in P4. But according to what you've just said, are we going to have a P3 then again move to?
Yeah, honestly, this one depends on the parent, the child, and the school.
Jesus.
Because you'll find child A was in primary 3 or senior 2.
Yes.
But the whole of this period, this child has been learning. The parent has been bringing facilitators at home. There has been online learning. We have the commercial online activities that have been going on, like SEMAS. So if this child has been going through all this child has a right, because maybe during this period, the child was in P3, has learned the P4 work and the P5 work, and is ready for P6. Then you find another child X, who was in the same class, but did not get anything. So this child automatically is in primary 3. Now, that's what I'm saying, that as schools reopen, we need to do the needs assessment, get to see. In fact, we need to do the diagnostic tests. One, do these children have the content? If this student is taken to senior 5, is this student having content up to senior 4? If this child is to be taken to primary 6, is this child having the content up to P5? That's 1. 2, after identifying that, what do you do to mitigate, to bridge the gap? What do you do to make sure that this lost content, this regressed content is given to this child much as is in the other class? So the situation is not a normal one. The handling is not the normal one. In whatever we are doing, we urge schools, we urge the teachers and everybody, the parents, that the teaching is going to be different. If you stick to the teaching we've been having, please, you're left out. This time, things are going to change. If a school cannot manage, like he put it, please, there are facilitators out there who can help your staff, who can help your people to catch up with the new normal. We have online teachings that are going on, even up to now, that are commercial. Please, if you feel you don't have that content, the abridged curriculum and all that, get such work so that your pupils or your students or your teachers are kept on top.
Godfrey, now this brings me to a scary point. You see,
Don't be scared, Mr. Chirapo.
no, why am I scared? I usually rub shoulders with aged people.
True.
I love, because I believe gray hair is wisdom. So sometimes I find those that disgrace it, but okay. But when I'm speaking to some of these old people, they tell you that those days, I don't know what days they're referring to, but those days, a person in ginger would perform and compete fairly with a person in the Western Senior Kashura. That a person would sit exams from any school, go to any part of this country, and expect those performances. Today we have these disparities. That a person in Kasoga Kakuuto, only by God's grace, if not a miracle, can that person, if they're all in primary 7, compete with a child of Green Hill in Kampala. So with this way of teaching we are hearing, how are we going to ensure that what has been a gap is not even widened? Because at the end of the day, when we reach these higher institutions, you still find these disparities because people are accepted on grades that they have achieved, on aggregates they have achieved. So this may seem very short, we've lost only 2 years. But how are we going to mitigate the impact of this loss, talking about the confusion that has therefore brought?
Mr. Chirapo and viewers outside there, I want to calm you down. Don't be scared. There is nothing new which has never happened before. Those of us who were around during the takeover of government of 1986 when it came into power, schools did not study for some time, especially those who were in the Luweero Triangle. Yes, there was a generation which lost, but again there was a generation which studied. Our times we are here. We lost some good years running errands in the bush, but we managed to continue with school. Then I will also answer you as a professional. For you to be able to study, you need to learn how to read and write. If you master those two, you know how to read and you know how to write. That means you can read and comprehend, and you are able to interpret and study on your own, and you pick concepts.
How does that apply to mathematics, physics?
It comes
chemistry?
back to the same thing, because they are concepts, the mathematical concepts. They are basically 4. Divide and multiply, add and subtract. So all the rest are just fed in 2. Now once you have those concepts and you have a facilitator, you are able to catapult yourself to the next level. That is why there was that need of the abridged version of the curriculum, so that there is content which should not be left out untaught. You see, I have had serious discussions in boardroom meetings for the education philosophy in this country. Because why do we go to school? Now you see, I can read where your fear lies. We are obsessed with passing exams. We don't go to school to pass exams. That is just an assessment. And even then, we are reviewing that assessment. Because now for the senior ones, we are changing. By the time you reach senior 3, you will be assessed with the DIT, Directorate of Industrial Training. You should be able to have a certificate which shows what you are in a position to offer. What can you do? You see, it is not how many exams did you pass. Because people cheat in exams and they pass. But we want skills. We want to see the value of education. Why are we very corrupt as a society, and yet we are holding degrees and masters on our head? We should be able to exhibit the whole essence of education. Why did we go to school? Why are our morals degenerating? And yet when we go to school, we are being taught to attach value to our education. Why? What is the problem? So this COVID thing was bad. But wherever there is a dark cloud, there is always a silver lining. So we hope that the good things which COVID brought about will manifest themselves and they will be able to be seen. As Kangave has said, we are in the new normal. If you are used to teaching children, getting a book, chalk and pen and paper, and you stand in front and you start telling children, sorry, the people who you are telling now, they are more informed than you who is telling them. You are going to find challenges, and before you know it, you will be frustrated. So we need to adopt very fast. But as a private sector, in general terms, as I said earlier, we have challenges because the whole essence runs on funding, the resources. For these things to be, we need really to refocus our teachers in the private sector. And as a coalition, we are working around the clock. We want to have a national outreach, regardless whether they have started or they haven't started, so that we can reorient these teachers. And we help them, especially the psycho bit of it. They need to be helped psychologically, so that they accept that things are the way they are. It is not business as usual. And we have hope that as we go along, things will be changing. We are going to reach out.
Very interesting. We hope really the teachers can have what it takes, ensuring that they adopt to the new normal. So much has changed. And I love when Godfrey talks about that psychological impact of it. I remember when we were in school, you would tell that this teacher now either had issues at home before coming to class.
True.
She's very jolly. She's very happy. She comes beating up everybody. You know, giving punishments. Then you would whisper, what a husband. Now we are the ones paying for that. So we hope with this psychological aspect of it, teachers will be prepared to return. Maybe some have lost homes, some have lost whatever came with COVID. There's so much, most when it comes to teachers in the private sector. But Kangave, also let's look at these soaps other than vaccination. One of the key requirements is wearing masks. And we know this is so much a duty of the teachers to enforce. Sending back a child because they don't have a mask with them. They have paid school fees. The director wants more children in the school. Here is a teacher saying, go back, you don't have a mask. You're not going to study today. Phone calls, you know what it happens, what happened and all that. So how empowered is this teacher and how realistic is this burden? First enforcing these SOPs and making those critical decisions that have to be taken for the safety of students and teachers.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to assure you that teachers will do that because it's life first.
Okay.
If we are considering our life as important, we need now to teach these young ones, these little ones, that their life is equally important. They need to be taught that putting on a mask is not for the sake of maybe for the public to see, is for their safety. And I believe from that, these children, even the ones in the P1, P2 baby class, will be able to put on their masks very well without any force. Then secondly, parents, why would you risk to bring your child at school without a mask? Why? Actually, because this is the child's life. COVID has come and we must live with it. And the only way is to follow the SOPs. Sanitize, social distance, wear the mask. And these are the prerequisites to fight against the COVID. So I urge the parents, please, even before packing the juice, the bread and the rest in the child's bag, please make sure that the mask is there first. Make sure that the sanitizer is there first. The one who cannot manage the sanitizer, at least this child should go with some water in the bottle. teach these children, even at home, to do this, I believe we shall move on. Secondly, to our teachers outside there, I would like to give you an assurance that we shall sail to the shores. Why? We've not been working for 2 years, and we've survived. Now we've come back to work. If we've come back to work, please let us work. And during the execution, please, we need to think. The other time we used to say we need to think beyond the box. But this time we need to think without a box. Now we don't have this box. If you've been earning 200,000 or 300 or 1 million, and maybe you've been spending the whole of it on luxury and all that, this time we need to think. Now, supposing we get another disease beyond COVID, how will it find us? We need to prepare ourselves. If you can join any financial institution purposely for saving, because the more savings you have, possibly the more loan power you get. So that at the end of the day, maybe you can get something and invest into another venture. Secondly, I want to urge, to call upon the directors and the proprietors of schools, especially in the urban setting. Most of our teachers left to the villages. Today, as they report back, they need rent, they need to get new homes, everything is they need something. So if a teacher approaches you for possibly an upkeep for the start and the rest, please be considerate. Please, we are in the new normal, we are in the new situation, and I believe we shall sail through this.
Very interesting. Yes.
Supplement something there. You see, this is a cobweb. Each one is equally affected. As you are putting the school proprietor on pressure to provide for me, because I have come back from the village to the urban area to pay rent, the proprietor will equally tell you, I do not have the money. Now what happens? Consequently, now what runs is a whole cocktail of issues. And that's why I have told you, Mr. Chirabo, and I want to tell it to the listeners outside there and the viewers, that the only way is for us to start. We shall keep on fixing these gaps until we shall be able to reach where we are meant to be going. But challenges are going to be there. So, and my appeal to people of goodwill, please give a helping hand where possible, so that we can have a better education well managed. At our level, we are engaging with the ministry, and we are having a series of discussions with the decision makers in this country to see to it that all these gaps are fixed, and we have a smooth running education system, and we do not regret why we opened schools. Yes, for the government, I think they look to be much better compared to us, the private schools. But we are moving on, and there is hope.
You're moving on and there is hope. Well, dear parent, that explains why some of the issues you may raise, we can only be confident when we've started. But in the interest of time, I'll allow each of you, I'll give you a minute to have your final shot towards the issues we've discussed this morning. More so, that is the calling for the circle, because I believe if this is up and running, it could be one way to assist teachers have monies where they can invest into other ventures, so that as they're carrying on with teaching, maybe he has a business or she has a business somewhere else that can help. Yes, General Secretary, your final shot.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers and teachers outside there, I want to tell you that one, the private school teachers presidential grant is there. One thing, maybe, Mr. Chirabo, I want to give the assurance to the public Because I think last night we were discussing with some people in a certain group, and they were saying that money is already taken. Please, that money is there, only that where to put this money was the problem. Now, the formation of the Apex Circle, the union circle for the teachers in private schools, is in its final stages. Whoever is in this country and wishes to join, whoever is having a private school teachers circle registered and wishes to join, please contact us on the following numbers: 0757 525254. That's Airtel, 0757 525254, or 0776 524780. Please, if you call or WhatsApp on those numbers, we shall give you the details and how to join the Apex Circle. We shall have the AGM for the different circles soon, so that we have this circle in place and the teachers begin accessing this money. This money is there, and teachers in private schools, please don't say that's your money. This is your share on the taxes, on everything you pay to this government, and please be part of it. Don't leave it to the few individuals. Don't leave it to some other people maybe to swindle it. This is our money. We must get it, and we shall get it. I thank you.
Well, our money, it is there. That is an assurance. So let that money finally get to your accounts by being part of the circle. And of course, the good thing is it's a revolving fund. Here the chairman talked about a teacher's bank. Sir, teacher's bank. Let me have your final remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirabo. I thank you for the opportunity which you have rendered to us to have this important discussion this morning as we begin the year. My final remarks would be that teachers outside there, especially the teacher in the private school, please go back and teach, because these children are the future of this country. Let us uphold professionalism, and we build a better country, Uganda. On the issue of the private school teachers' money, as pledged by the government of Uganda, yes, we have that money. The money is there. Finance has assured us, true, the money is there, and they want to have that money managed by the Microfinance Support Center. But we are still in a discussion, because we are saying this money is not for Microfinance Support Center. This money is for the teachers in the private schools. So if it is the teachers' money, let the teachers manage their own money. That's why you hear the General Secretary saying that once we have an Apex Circle for private school teachers' circles, then we shall be good to go. But it is also important to note, whereas this money is for the teachers in the private schools, the way how government works, the Ministry of Education and Sports has to be in agreement with how the money will be managed and where the money will go. Because that is how the system runs. This is public money. It is not money for buying bitumbua or for buying rumonde or for buying onions. No. As we said, we took a decision that this money will be a revolving fund. Let each teacher who teaches in the private school benefit out of this money. Because remember, there is already another teachers union, the Walimu Circles Union, which government gave money. And the teachers in government schools benefit out of that money. Now, this is our money, it is our turn. So we want to have this money well managed so that it can stand the test of time as we progress to the National Bank. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having found time. And of course, I know teachers in private schools, you've been encouraged. There is a ray of hope. Stay professional, come back, perform that noble cause, and other issues will be ironed out, because the coalition is doing its best. But also, when we kick start off, there's so much that will come to be discussed thereafter. And I want to thank you so much, gentlemen. And to thank you so much. You've been with us through. Thank you for keeping it on UBC TV. My humble appeal is, please go and get vaccinated. And when you're vaccinated, still perfect the standard operating procedures. We need to lower as much as we can the positivity rate. We need to fight people dying due to COVID-19. And of course, if we do that, then business will continue. COVID may not go now, then, or even 2 years from now. But we know what we can do to smoothly sail through Let's together embrace these measures. Have a lovely day. God bless you. Keep it on UBC TV.